Something I noticed very early on in the skeptic critical thinking community was that certain public figures were held in very high regard, and it was unusual to ever hear a negative word about them. And that was understandable for the scientists and celebrities who were coming to our conferences and doing the work and actively spreading critical thinking. But it was a bit odd when it came to others, like Bill Gates, for instance, a man who I never thought seemed particularly interested in our causes, but as a billionaire, he did fund some pretty great science, like research to help eradicate mosquito-borne illnesses. And that's great because mosquitoes are the deadliest animal to humans on Earth. And I'm not being hyperbolic. They are number one. They kill up to 1 million people every year, completely destroying the number 2 deadliest animal to humans, which is humans. Number 3 is snakes, and apparently number 4 is dogs. Here's one other fun related fact. You know all that stuff you hear about the circle of life and how all species on Earth rely upon each other to be healthy and fulfilled? Well, scientists who study mosquitoes have trouble naming a single bad thing that would go wrong if we woke up tomorrow and all the mosquitoes just disappeared. Seriously, just a garbage-ass species. Anyway, whenever I casually mention that Bill Gates is, despite giving money to scientific causes, he is bad, I inevitably get these really baffled replies wondering what I personally have against this angel investor man who is at least partially responsible, not just for helping eradicate mosquito-borne illnesses like malaria, but giving us Space Cadet Pinball, one of the greatest video games ever made. But it's true. Bill Gates is bad. Bad for humanity, bad for the planet, bad for science, bad. The clearest way that I can put this is that it might seem great when a billionaire chooses to do something good with his money. But that same billionaire could tomorrow choose to do something bad with his money. So maybe we shouldn't give one person so much power. Because even the good stuff Gates does is quite probably only done because he wants to further his own interests. In the case of the Gates Foundation funding science, the benefit is laundering Gates's reputation, which might remind you of a friend of Bill Gates named Jeffrey Epstein, who did the exact same thing. If you're not aware, back in 2001, a district court ruled that Bill Gates was running a monopoly that was unfairly benefiting by stamping out competition, particularly by discriminating against non-Microsoft web browsers like Firefox and Opera. Microsoft appealed, and the Department of Justice ended up settling with them. So Microsoft wasn't broken up, as the Department of Justice originally wanted, but they were forced to allow third-party applications to fairly run on Windows. So what else was happening while Gates was being revealed to be an unrepentant monopolist whose top brass bragged about cutting off the air supply of smaller businesses? Well, the founding of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, of course. That's what I mean when I say that the foundation was set up to launder Gates's reputation. The videos of Gates at his deposition were absolutely stunning in that he presented himself as one of the least likable people on the planet, claiming to not understand words like ask and compete and we. But by pouring a very small percentage of his total wealth into public relations and therefore into this new Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, decades later, we think of Gates as some kind of benevolent genius instead of a convicted monopolist. As Cory Doctorow recently pointed out on his blog, Gates built his company using common knowledge and common technical advances, and then building a fence around that knowledge and that tech advancement, claiming ownership of it and then fiercely protecting it for himself only. All of the risks he took were socialized, and all of the gains he received were privatized. So why am I talking about all of this now? Well, it's because there's one prominent way in which Gates is now weaponizing his bafflingly clean reputation to amass more wealth in a way that will surely lead to more human deaths. That is by stopping poor countries from being able to manufacture their own COVID vaccines by pressuring the Biden administration to protect pharmaceutical company patents. This is the 2001 antitrust case all over again. Pharmaceutical companies used public knowledge to produce the COVID-19 vaccines. According to the Government Accountability Office, American taxpayers paid about $20 billion toward the development of the vaccines, and the Biomedical Research and Development Authority chipped in another $20 billion. The risks were socialized. As Cory Doctorow points out, we, the American taxpayers, were the angel investors. And what about the gains that resulted? Gates and the pharmaceutical companies want those gains to be privatized, of course, just like with Windows and Internet Explorer. And in order to do that, they will need to cut off the air supply of the competition by viciously protecting patents. But this time, instead of it being Mozilla gasping for air, it's 2.5 billion unvaccinated poor people in the global south. So does Gates really want to reduce the total number of humans killed by animals? Or does he just want humans to catch up to mosquitoes in first place? I'm kidding. He doesn't care either way. He wants money. The good news is that just before I made this video, the Gates Foundation, not Bill, but his reputation laundering angelic organization, changed their mind and said, actually, they were maybe in favor of lifting patent restrictions temporarily. Maybe just until we all turn our attention to something else. Who knows? Because ultimately, one man whose main goal appears to be amassing as much wealth as humanly possible is able to make decisions that directly affect the lives and well-being of billions of people. And maybe that's a problem.